Have you ever played through the Stormblood DLC of Final Fantasy XIV and felt like it's Lyse's story and not yours? Just like I went over this with Alfie now, I'm going to do it with Lyse now. If you haven't watched that video, please go watch it. It's only like 4 minutes long. A lot of people don't really like Lyse, but just give me some time to explain her character arc, and I'm sure you'll come to like her at the end. A lot of people don't like Lyse, I'm sure because of when she was Ida and just used as an expository tool in the story. I feel like Square Enix really did a bad job with this and really just hurt her character overall. Before Baelsar's Wall, there's really nothing to her. She has no character, no drive, and adds nothing to the story at all. I feel like a lot of the Scions fall into this. Not just Ida as Lyse, but Papalymo, Urianger, they also kind of suffer from this. It isn't until after these events and the loss of Papalymo that we really see Lyse as her real character, and her real character development starts to begin. We see her as this young, hot-blooded revolutionary, just like all these other characters that we've been surrounded with in the story so far, taken in by the Scions, and now finally having to go out on her own. And this is the part of the story where she begins to really show a lot of her insecurities and try to justify her position in the Scions that she's had for all of this time. Now, since she has been a kind of ditzy character for this whole time, it does leave a lot of the community a little upset with her character and seeing like it's deserved her insecurities, which is kind of really bad. And again, where I think Square Enix kind of went wrong. The story does a pretty good job kind of fixing this a little bit, with her being front and center, being our main connection to the revolution itself. At this point, we really start to see Lyse as her own character start to develop, as opposed to the character that she's been as Ida. And obviously, when they're starting to develop the character, they need to let us know who she is at the beginning. And so we have to go through all this time learning her insecurities and her self-conscious nature. One thing Stormblood does really good is in character development is the use of foils and parallels. Lyse is actually a parallel to our character simply for the fact that she also has a parallel and a foil. Our character has a foil in Zenos. He is the antithesis of us. Lyse also has a foil in Fordola. Her journey is very much similar to Fordola's, but very different, and comes to different conclusions. She also has a parallel in Hien, which we come into later. So while Fordola is there to foil Lyse and to show her what she could have been and the wrong way to go, Hien is a parallel to Lyse, someone who is following the same path as her, but has come to almost its conclusion. And she has the opportunity to actually see its conclusion and the growth that takes place in his character. When you look at the story as Lyse's story, you can also see Hien as a kind of foil to the Scions. He is a revolutionary. He's there to save his country, save the world, just like the Scions are. But unlike the Scions, he is not a scientist or a great mage. He is not one of the people that she is comparing herself to constantly. He's outside of that, and he's someone that she can relate to a lot more, especially on the side of revolution. This is where her story starts to actually get good, and you actually start to see some character development really start to happen. With the liberation of Doma and the goal that Lyse has in her head this whole time, right in front of her, seeing all these people free, just like she wants her people free, she can relate to that, and she can start to crystallize these feelings she's having. She's already had a victory. They've freed Doma, which means the insecurities start to peel away. And she can look towards Hien as a guiding point to how she wants to become and who she wants to be. This is where the character arc really starts to come together. The insecurities might have started to peel away, but like most things, they don't just fall off. They really need a good shove. You need something in the story to kick the hero off a cliff to really get them on track and their character arc started. A lot of times this comes with responsibility being thrusted onto the character, and Lyse definitely gets that. She gets the responsibility that Conrad gives her to lead the revolution, to lead Ala Mhigo into the future. At the same time, she's surrounded by death and destruction and is reminded of the hardships that Garlean rule comes with all of the sacrifices that all of the revolution has paid for, and all of that responsibility is thrust upon her again.
Well, that's that then. Time's up.
What are you talking about? You'll be on your feet before you know it.
It's all right, Lise. I've lived long enough. But listen, I want you to lead the resistance in my stead.
Don't say another word. You'll recover. We'll recover. We'll bring freedom to Ala Mhigo together. We're not going to stop here.
No, you won't. Everything we've built, everyone we've brought together, I know you'll show them the way. You've got it in you, Lise. Not because you're Curtis's daughter or Ida's sister, but because you're you. Because you're you.
Conrad.
It was the push that Lise needed. It was the climax for her entire story arc. Now we start the descent towards the conclusion. Things need to start wrapping up, and she needs to finally crystallize her character arc. But first, we need to confront Fordola. She represents everything Lise is against, everything that Lise is fighting against. She is an Ala Mhigo that gave in, that gave up on living, that gave up on fellow Ala Mhigan lives, was willing to slaughter her own kith and kin, and Lise could not stand for it, and was part of the responsibility that was thrust upon her by Conrad. Whether he meant to or not, part of the responsibility he gave her was that of vengeance, to revenge the lives lost, and the lives that could yet be saved by taking out Fordola. Now, she doesn't get to, of course, because that would be too easy. We gotta let her sit in the vengeance, and we gotta let her come to terms with it and realize what it means and actually let it go, which we don't get until we come up on the arc scene. This is where she really has a second to calm down, relax, and think, and really digest everything that's happened and come to understand what it is that she needs to do and who she really wants to become. And I think this is where she actually comes to the decision that we get to at the end of her story arc. We're shown how her mental state has changed with, oddly enough, a wardrobe change. This is actually a pretty common thing that people do in storytelling. But even though this is another outfit that was Ida's, she's taken it and actually made it her own, unlike the mask that she wore for all those years during A Realm Reborn. The end of the war isn't really that important to her character arc, except for the fact that it just kind of closes up some of the loose threads and removes all the worry she has and allows her to step into the role she needed. And it's only after the war is over and she gathers the Scions together and we have this one final moment that I think she finally says what she's been thinking ever since we had the scene with the Ark, and all the responsibility finally came down on her and she realized it all. And that's her leaving the Scions. And she realizes it was never her part to be here. Her part was to be a leader for her country. And she's finally given up on her insecurities and finally stepped into her own as Lise. And now that she's finally come to terms with who she is, there's one thing I think she will never forget to do.
Lead them to victory. To freedom.
Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. It's been a blast making these videos, and I really want to continue this. Next up is going to be Alisaie, and I really hope you watch that too. Please like, comment, and subscribe so you're there for when it happens. I post a lot of reaction videos from my stream, and I do stream Final Fantasy on the weekends. On Thursdays at 6 p.m. we usually do some other game like Elden Ring. We're going to be moving on to Hollow Knight, and we are currently in Shadowbringers, post Shadowbringers right now in the in stream, and we do mostly Final Fantasy Friday through Sunday at 10 a.m. This is Pacific Standard Time. I hope to see you guys there, and I hope you guys like the video. Thank you.